All right, I wanted to make a video here about how Ubuntu has kicked my butt and that I have lost the fight with Ubuntu. I've spent all weekend fighting Ubuntu, trying to get it to install on the server. I ran into issue after issue after issue after issue, and they were so frustrating to work with. You know, if it was one isolated issue, I could put in the legwork and get it figured out. But this was a cascading series of failures that can only be summed up in the fact that running hardware that's not super supported under the Linux system. That granted, I know the Linux users are going to come out of the woodwork and tell me that Linux runs on everything, but it's still not perfect. So, and then you wrap that up in the fact that I'm trying to run the 4070 Supers a couple of weeks after launch, and the drivers just aren't there. They just are not there. And I know, again, the Linux community has already beat me over the head with the fact that that's, NVIDIA's problem, not Linux's problem. But yes, I understand it's NVIDIA not doing a great job of pushing it out to the Linux community, but in the same sense, it works on Windows. So day one, I worked on Windows. I didn't have these problems. So yes, it's a big deal. And one of the reasons that I'm even attempting this is because the Linux platform is so much faster when it comes to compute, specifically with the folding and home compute that I'm doing. We're looking at a 1.5x increase in throughput by using the Linux system as opposed to the Windows system. Now, there's a number of factors that go into why that is, but suffice to say, it is. And so it was a very large carrot for me to try and go after. And trust me, I put in the leg. I really did. I had hundreds of tabs open in Chrome. I had sudo commands all over the place. I was really digging into this and really trying to make it work. And I got close a couple of times to getting the bare necessities working, but I could never get it stable enough to survive a reboot. So there were issues just during the install process where it would just fail. You would try and do an install and it would just bug out for no apparent reason. Sometimes you could sudo command your way out of it, sometimes you couldn't, and you just had to try it again. Again, I'm truly believing that I'm just in a weird hardware case that's not super well supported. So, all that to say, Ubuntu won this round. I'm going to give it a few months before I try it again. Maybe things will have settled down by then and proper driver support will be there and I can get a installation working. I will say I love the ILO for the fact that I can do things on it, but when you're forced to try and use the ILO as your only means of communication with a system, it is brutal. The ILO maxes out, goodness, it's less than 720p. It's a very small window, and so you've got this tiny window, you can't copy and paste into it. So you're trying to get things set up and you're having to manually type things in. And, again, you're looking at a Post-it note on a 4K screen, or you can drag it up to the point where it's just blocky as all get out. So again, not a great user experience. So all of that happened over the weekend. was up, was down, had brief glimmers of success where I got it up and running, and yes, I was outputting some serious numbers with it, but again, any tweaks or changes that I tried to do on it immediately caused the system to crash out and die. Really, the only thing I was looking for would have been a win for me was if I got the video output to go to a standard monitor. That would have changed everything for me. I probably could have forced my way through and figured some more out, but it would only output to the ILO. And attempts to disable the ILO caused the system just to not boot at all. So, I couldn't win. I really couldn't win. So, what was the other thing that I was into and trying to do, and I do have a success story on? And that would be the spicy firmware that allows you to fan control the HP ProLiants. So, let's see here. Do I still have it open? Yeah, it's probably starting to get toasty now. So, what others have built and that I am piggybacking on is a special firmware that you can load. It's technically a downgrade on firmware version. So I went from 2.9 to 2.77, but it allows you to manually control the fan speed. So right now, the air conditioner is louder than the server is. Now, granted, I am getting warmer and warmer on the server, but I am much better off than I was before. So I can even set it back to, let's give it, of these here, and but the long and short of it is you are now allowed to control your fan speeds manually. You can do a lot of sensor playing and get stuff up and running, but for me, just getting the fan speed where everything is equalized is exactly what I needed. So what was happening before was that the fan was seeing the temperature of the GPUs and would ramp way up and then down and then up and down and up and down. And so you had this pulse. It wasn't a constant fan noise, which is easier to deal with than this pulsing of extremely loud. We're talking 80% duty cycle on this, which is darn loud, to probably 40% duty cycle. So you had this huge decibel swing going back and forth that it was doing. And there really wasn't a good way to get a handle on it. So now what I'm able to do is just manually set the fan speed at a little bit higher than it needs to be. So I could probably dial it in a little more, and I may in the future, but honestly, this level of sound, I don't know, I don't think OBS is picking this up right now, but this level of sound is acceptable for me. So I can work with this. It's not overbearing. It is just a little bit louder than the air conditioner. So, let's see here. I'm just going to pull up the decibel meter on my phone. And so, yeah, 50 decibels is all we're at right now. 50 dB. And before we were in the low 70s running this. So now we're able to get significantly reduced temperatures. Everything is humming along quite nicely. So a real win on this one. Because before, HP just does its own thing for fans, and it was bad, to be honest. If you've got HP approved devices and everything is inside their little sea of sensors, where it knows, hey, this is our caution value, this is our critical value, this is our shutdown value, then you get a much more balanced system. But this HP ProLiant was made a long time ago, so it doesn't know a lot of the hardware that I'm putting in it. I think the only thing that it really knew was the Mellanox card, and the Mellanox card was old as well. So all of the GPUs, I want to say it was Kepler era was when this was made. Don't quote me on that though. But long and short of it is, I now have control over the fans. Really hats off to the guys that did all the legwork on getting this up and going. It did take, it's not an easy process because you have to compile some stuff. It's not just plug it in and go, but it's there, and now you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Downside is it does reset after every reboot, but I can work with that. This server doesn't go down all that often, except for when I'm trying to install Ubuntu on it, which case it went down all the time. But for most of the things, it's pretty stable. And that allows me a lot of leeway with getting all of this set up and going. So, yeah, really all we're doing is setting the fan values to, let's see here. Right now I'm at 40%, which is probably a little bit faster than they truly need to be. But that allows everything to be nice and cool. And we are pumping out, let's see here, if we go and look at power management, yeah, just a little under 1400 watts. And that's at full tilt. So we're getting a lot of mileage out of this thing. At full tilt, this is 4 4070 Supers in there, all pushing, fully rendering, putting a lot of good compute out there. And yeah, so I'll cap that off and then kind of ramble on a little bit more about the Folding at Home project. I've posted some of this stuff on my blog, but I haven't really made a video about it. So, and just a small update on that as well is that I now am in the top 1,000 producers in the world. So that is a huge milestone for me. Roughly passed that over the weekend, I think. And that's the furthest I've ever come inside the project. So I'm breaking new ground as I go through. When it comes to daily output, I'm in the top 50. So again, out of a lot of people, again, for project totals, we're in the millions of people. For daily output, we're in probably 10,000 people, and I'm in the top 50. So, again, not to dissuade or say anything against the other people that are producing, it's just kind of a little self-competition that I'm doing is, where can I land in the grand scheme of things? And, it's just something to kind of keep yourself motivated, because otherwise it just kind of sits here and does science. If you don't have goals and aspirations to it, it can be very easy to be like, well, why am I doing this? But otherwise, it's a server that didn't really have a good purpose after we built the Gigabyte server. Granted, the Gigabyte server is now sitting in the basement waiting to be picked up and returned to Newegg, but that's another story. But the ability to give back, I think, is something that I'm really happy to be able to do and to get back into that whole process. Again, I've done this. I did this seriously for a number of years, starting in 2008. And then, I hit one of the largest milestones, which was that billion point marker. So again, they tabulate everything based off of each work unit that you complete has a point value. So you can kind of track what you're doing and compare yourself to other people, that type of thing. And so at the time, that was my Everest, was hitting that billion point marker. And again, at the time, the team that I was on, which I still am on, was really struggling. The forum had changed hands a couple of times. It wasn't the same forum that it used to be. And so, again, at one point in time, this forum was number 3 in the world. And then they're middle of the pack now. There's not a lot of foot traffic anymore. It's a different era. Reddit and stuff has taken over. Forums are not as, Reddit and Discord really have taken over more than the old school forums have. So it's still out there, still post to it every so often, but it's not the same that it used to be. So during that whole, I'm going to call it an implosion of the forum, I kind of hit my billion point milestone, and I was like, I'm just going to hang the hat and call it here. And so I did. I really shut everything down. I wasn't competing anymore. Just kind of let it ride. And then, I would do a little bit here or there when, something came up, especially when they were working on the COVID project. I did contribute then as well, but it was not anything steady or with a goal in mind. Just a few units here or there. And then, as I kind of came into this and started really mulling it over and thinking, what can I do? What can I give back with? This came up, and I was like, this is a cool idea and a really cool way to re-engage and give back to the community as a whole. Again, it's a server that sits in the rack next to me. It's not glorious or anything like that, but it's fun and it's something I can do. So that is that, and I will go ahead and sign off here with that rambling out of the way. This has been kind of an update over the weekend, an update over the ILO system, the fan control, and then a little bit about the folding at home and kind of where I'm going with that. So kind of a dense episode, but I just kind of wanted to ramble a little bit, catch everybody up on where I'm at. So thanks.